Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. Today, we have finally done it. We have beaten the game. We have reached account level AR60. You can't get any more experience or adventure rank experience beyond this. It just caps out at 340,000. Out of 340,000. Let's go ahead and talk to our favorite cyborg, Catherine, to see what the rewards are. 3 Acquaint Fates, 150 Primo Gems, which is not quite enough for a single summon, and 2 Fragile Resin, which is actually very nice. 30 Mystic Enhancement Ores, which is an entire full day's worth of farming crystals and forging them at the blacksmith. And finally, 21 Heroes Wits. Wow, guys. This is actually, you know, I don't know, like a few hundred resin right here. And we're gonna click claim. Beautiful. This wouldn't be much of a YouTube video if it was just that, so we are also going to do an updated account overview for my Genshin Impact account. I did one of these roughly 6 months ago or so. Now I've been playing Genshin Impact for a little bit over a year. I think a year plus a couple weeks. I'm actually not entirely sure the exact day that I started playing Genshin Impact, but this is a good 1-year update. So we're going to start actually with, I guess, my overworld team that I use 90% of the time. It's actually Yoimiya, Sayu, Kazuha, and Raiden. I just feel like lately this team for Inazuma and stuff is just super easy to use and super reliable. Don't really have to think, just press E, then E left click, and everything's dead. And obviously Sayu for her overpowered movement speed, Kazuha for his overpowered vertical mobility grouping, as well as that stamina reduction while he runs. So this is, in my opinion, my favorite overworld team and general use team. So yeah, I think you've seen her stats. We'll go through artifacts and stuff later, but first we're gonna go through all my characters' talents and stuff like that. Yoimiya, you can see I've crowned her normal attack. Sayu, nothing special with her build or talents, but she is just, you know, she has a little bit of healing. And my Kazuha, despite being the whale that I am, my Kazuha is one of my few non-Constellation 6 characters, and he is at Constellation 2. And we have Raiden. Of course, you know, I think some of you guys have seen my Raiden video, so you'll probably know, my Raiden's pretty overpowered. She's got her emblem set, and she has her burst crowned. Eventually I will work on this, but right now I'm saving those skill material stuff. So now, a goal for my account here is to get every character up to 90 out of 90 with talent levels at least 999. So you can see that, you know, Sayu Kazuha, not quite there yet, but a lot of my characters are, and Zhongli is. In fact, he even has a crowned meteor. This is the build I was using for him, minus the level 90 Favonius Lance. I was using this one. Level 1 Favonius Lance for my next video, which will be a DPS showdown between Diona, Aloy, and Amber, some of the best DPS characters in the game. And anyway, we have Geo Traveler. She is pretty well leveled as well. I have not leveled Electro Traveler's talents yet, so I will get to that on a rainy day. And I have not collected Electro Traveler's constellations yet. Oh man, I'm so behind when it comes to exploration. I haven't finished any of the islands. Let me know how far you guys are in the Inazuma exploration. Ganyu, she has a crowned normal attack, and Mona has a crown burst actually, so I have used a lot of my crowns, but sadly I actually haven't leveled Mona's these things yet, but I'm actually short on the Rings of Boreas's. I will get her up to 9, 9, and I guess 10 eventually. Albedo, it's pretty pointless to level his basic attack, but there he is. And we have Xiao at 666. Someday I will get Xiao to 999. Probably want to get more of these shadows. And eventually, right, this stuff takes some time. Venti, no point leveling his basic attack, but we've got his elemental skill and burst. And oh yeah, just to check some constellations, Albedo and Xiao are the other two 5-star characters that I do not have at Constellation 6. You can see that they are still both at Constellation 0. Next we have Jean. Jean also has 9 and 9 in Gale Blade and her burst. She is at 90 out of 90. I have Aloy. Now, Aloy is going to be one of the last characters I will probably bring up to 999. You know, sadly, she just, yeah, she exists. We all got her for free. And next we have Eula. Eula has a crown burst. No surprise, you know, Eula's burst, especially at Constellation 6 or, you know, even at Constellation 0, is really, really cracked. Very, very powerful burst. And I actually think I have my Eula built right now. This is, I guess, for probably a more general farming build. We can see there she has the Pale Flame set. I'm not showing the build for a lot of these characters because, frankly, a lot of their builds are a mess. I think Venti's also built mostly. Sometimes I have better crit rate, crit damage, depending on if I need more damage on him. But usually I have just a lot of energy recharge. Elegy for the end, 4-piece, Viridescent Veneer, nothing special for Venti. And Jean, no, she's not built right now. So let's move on. We have Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi is at 988. I have not gotten around to getting those to 999, but we will get there someday. And Aika is at 99 and a crowned burst. You know, that burst of hers is very overpowered now. I was using her for a nuke build, so that's why she has the 4-piece instructors, as well as a level 1 sacrificial sword. Very good for not killing whatever target you need to nuke with another character. Next is Keqing, and Keqing is at 999, Constellation 6, and we have Kokomi, who I do plan to crown her burst someday, but she is low priority. She has a higher priority than Aloy, but a lower priority than the upcoming Arataki Ito, who I am currently saving my boss materials for. Next we have Child. Child is at 99 and he also has a crown burst. I have been using Child a lot recently, and many of my videos have been featuring him, but he is not properly built at the moment because I think the Polar Star is sitting on Aloy. And we have Hu Tao, right, upcoming rerun character. Not properly built at the moment either, but she also has a crown burst 99 and crown burst, so she is, you know, very good for those one-shot nuke speedruns, etc. And Klee, one of my original favorite characters when I started playing the game, and I still like her a lot. We have Deloop next, and no surprise, he is at 999, level 90, and Noelle is also at level 90, 999. I plan to do a DPS showdown between a Constellation 6 Noelle versus a Constellation 0 Arataki Ito. So it'll be one of my very few non-Constellation 6 DPS showdowns when it comes to 5-star characters. And I also brought this White Blind to Refinement 5, although no artifacts on her at the moment. I just literally finished her today. Okay, Ningguang is next, and she is also at 999, Constellation 6. Sucrose is one of the characters whose talent levels just really doesn't matter, especially if you go for, you know, more budget elemental mastery builds, which she does have. Rosaria also at 90 out of 90, and 6, 8, and 12. So it looks like, that's right, I am a bit short on the shadows. The stingy Shinzaya Man Child still prefers to drop tusks, which I do believe I have an excess amount of in comparison to the shadow, although I think I used most of my tusks. Tiona, that's right, I did. So I finally got around to using all those tusks that I got. And I know Diona, you know, doesn't have her burst at level 12 yet, but she's getting there. She's just one talent level off from being what I would consider fully built, because, you know, who in their right mind is going to crown these 3 things? So Kujusara, you know, uses the new talent materials. It's going to be a while before she is at 9, 9, and 9. And honestly, if you really want to, I think for the true long-term Raiden main players, especially if you have Constellation 6 Star, you should actually go for the crowned E, because that will give you that extra, you know, I don't know, like 0.5%, 1% damage for Raiden Shogun when you need Raiden to do that extra damage. Of course, that is not a high priority. Fischl's next, no surprise, she's at level 90 out of 90, so are these characters, right, in case I didn't mention that. And Fischl also is at 9, 9, and 9. And next we have Beidou. She's here and her normal attack is at 6 because I guess, you know, there's not really much point to level her normal attacks, but maybe someday I will get around to it. Next we have our good boy Razor, and he's missing 1 level on his E, but his E is the least impactful part of his kit. Someday I will get that to 9, but that is also a very low priority, and haven't really been making any content with Razor, so that's why he's going to be low priority to level that E to 12, but we can see he's almost there. He's almost fully built. Xingqiu, level 2 basic attack, but you know, who needs his basic attack? He's got his E and his burst at level 12 and 12. This isn't, you know, he doesn't have his proper build on him. In fact, most of these characters don't have their proper builds on them, which is why I'm not really showing their builds. Whenever I make a video showcasing any character that I use, you know, I make their builds on the fly because I don't have artifacts for literally every single character to hold on to all the time. We have Barbara. Barbara is at 966. So, you know, I haven't gotten around to leveling up her healing all the way. I think I will be using these on Mona first before I end up using them on Barbara. Yanfei, also level 90 out of 90, and she is at 899. Eventually, someday, I will bring her up to 999, but you know, content with her is pretty dry lately. Constellation 6, of course, unless specified otherwise, you can assume my characters are Constellation 6. And we have Xinyan is next. I do plan to actually make a couple Xinyan videos coming up because everyone is about to get her for free. Some people will be wondering how to utilize her, and yeah, so my Xinyan is at Constellation 6. Next we have the most broken character in the game, Mr. Bennett. Yes, right now he has the Mist Splitters Reforged, but usually I run him with the Aquila Favonia. And he actually does have, I think, mostly a proper build on him. So we can take a look. He has 220 energy recharge. I do believe I have certain variations of the build with about 270% energy recharge. He has a Crowned Burst, literally the best talent in the entire game. At least like best single talent, I would say overall. But yeah, moving on, we have Xiangling. Xiangling is at 8, 12, and 12. I will bring her up to 9, 9, and 9 eventually because funnily enough, under a Constellation 6 Bennett Burst, Xiangling's normal attacks and charge attacks actually do quite a bit of damage. You can play her as a mini Hu Tao with the charge attack Vape Spam. Let's move on next to Amber, who is also at 9, 9, and 9. I've been working on a DPS showdown between Amber, Diona, and Aloy, and it's actually pretty interesting in my opinion to see how these three 4-star Aloy's a 5-star, to see how these 3 characters compare to each other. So we are finally getting to the characters that are not fully built yet. We have Chongyun, Lisa, and Kaya, and my goal for my account, like I said, is to bring every character up to 90 out of 90 with 999 talents, and honestly we're actually pretty close, which is kind of crazy. We're a bit bottlenecked by some Azdaha materials, some other talent materials, and finally, just, you know, of course, resin as well. Continuing from where I left off, and in case you're curious, my wife came down for a little bit, so I paused the recording. Kaya is actually the only 4-star character that I do not have at Constellation 6 yet. He has literally been in, like, the Stardust shop or whatever, the Star Glitter shop, like, once or twice. If someone could actually tell me how many times he's been in there. And someday we will bring Mr. Kaya up to 90 out of 90 with 999 and Constellation 6. But I think I'll actually wait until, you know, I do get him to Constellation 6. And I think that pretty much covers everyone, right? Lisa is a 70 out of 70, which is enough to get the static electricity field. And yeah, she is at Constellation 6, so is Amber. Right, and the last 3 characters that I have to bring up to 90 are Chongyun, Lisa, and Aya. So, I also wanted to talk about why I'm not going to be using those 3 Acquaint Fates to summon today. So, sorry guys, unlike the AR59 rewards video where I did do a summon session, this one I won't be because I will be saving these since I already have Constellation 6 Hu Tao. Right, and what's his face? Toma is going to be on Hu Tao's banner. There's a very, very small chance that I get Toma from the standard banner once Hu Tao's banner is released. At least I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Either way, maybe I can save a few pulls just because of that. So that is why we're not doing a summon session today. Okay, so the next thing we will go over are my artifacts. And I'm mostly going to be covering the new artifacts that I got. So last time you guys showed me that I can actually sort by set, which is very nice to know. I think the last video was made before the Tenacity was released, but you'll be able to see that my Tenacity pieces really aren't that great. Tenacity of Millith is a support set predominantly. So, you know, the times and situations that you use it, generally speaking, you're not really going for damage to begin with. So the stats aren't as important as, say, on a main DPS set. So anyway, here we have energy recharge. We have an HP piece that I do use on Tenacity Zhongli sometimes. We have this crit rate, which I often use on Favonius wielders of the Tenacity. I think I usually use this on Zhongli when I need that crit rate to proc Favonius. And here, an Elemental Mastery. I'm not sure why I actually have this, but here I do have it. I don't think I've ever used it. But I think the idea behind this piece was that I would save it for Constellation 6 Kazuha someday. During his rerun, I may get him to Constellation 6. We will see. Next, we have a crit damage circlet. I guess I do use this on Xinyan when I want her burst to do a little bit more damage because of her Constellation 2 or 4. I don't remember which one. That adds 100% crit rate to her burst. So next, we just have some feathers that are pretty unremarkable. You can see that this one only rolled twice into crit, right? Once into crit rate, once into crit damage, and then into flat defense. So this is one of my best Hydro goblets. And, you know, it's got, you know, in total 5 crit rolls, right? Including the 2 that it started with. So, you know, when you kind of look at artifacts and evaluate them, you really want to look at how many out of 9 rolls are in crit. And we can see that for this Hydro Damage Goblet, 5 out of the 9 rolls are in crit. Now, of course, some artifacts only have 8 total rolls, right? Because they start with 3 substats. So you have to get the 4th substat. But yeah, that's just kind of one quick way to eyeball an artifact to gauge how good the artifact is. Next, we have this HP percent goblet, which I do often use on Tenacity Zhongli. Pretty self-explanatory. If you want a beefy Zhongli shield, Tenacity of the Millith is the way to go. We have this electro damage bonus goblet, which I have no idea why I'm keeping, but here it is. Yeah, I'm just gonna unlock that. So, funny thing about these videos is that they are a good time for me to reflect on my artifacts in order to decide whether I want to keep them or not. And this artifact is pretty interesting. I don't recall ever even using this. Maybe I would use this on Fischl. We have this Elemental Mastery timepiece, which is actually one of my best Elemental Mastery timepieces. And even on my AR60 whale account, you'll see that you probably have a lot of artifacts individually, or, you know, on your better sets that are much better than, you know, a lot of my artifacts here. So we have this defense percent piece, good on Xinyan, I guess, when Xinyan runs Tenacity. You know, the problem with Xinyan is just her split scaling is all over the place, which is really sad, really sad. We have this one. This is absolute garbage, but it has a lot of energy recharge, which is nice for Tenacity users that just care about energy recharge. And here we have just, you know, a decent crit rate piece that I think I do use on Zhongli sometimes. This is probably my best Tenacity flower, and, you know, I'm just going to go through these a little bit more quickly because most of them aren't really remarkable. This one would be good for Kokomi, but I think I'm using an onset piece for Kokomi for the healing bonus circlet, but I do have this just in case I, you know, eventually get a different onset piece for Kokomi. We'll see. Anyway, we have another crit rate circlet, HP percent circlet that I use on Zhongli when, you know, you just want a really beefy shield instead of the crit rate, for example, that I mentioned earlier. Another decent energy recharge feather, which is always nice on a support set like Tenacity. And we have an HP percent as well as flat HP feather, good for HP scaling Tenacity users. And here this one has a lot of Elemental Mastery, which is the reason why I kept it. I think, like, it's a good off piece for various Viridescent Veneer users like Venti or Kazuha or whatever, but I don't think I have the proper 4-piece Viridescent Veneer piece to end up using this feather for Kazuha, for example. Next, we have a defense goblet. So this is decent on, for example, a Xinyan if you need her to have a lot of shielding power, right? So this will give you that defense. And we have another HP one. I guess I'm running this one on Bennett at the moment. Not sure why. And we have this pyro damage one, which sadly rolled a bunch into Elemental Mastery and HP, flat HP. I decided to keep it, I guess, just in case someday I ever wanted to bring it to 20. And a few other pieces, as well as a bunch of pieces that I have not leveled. So what I actually like doing and this is mostly for nuke showcases, is I like having some level 0 artifacts. And the reason for that is because you often want your support characters during a nuke showcase to do as little damage as possible, because nowadays things just get vaporized even by your supports setting up, that it really helps to do those nuke showcase like against the perpetual Lego array to do minimum damage. Now let's quickly take a look at the gladiators. I think I got a couple upgrades for this since the last video, and you'll notice that I'm going to be skipping over a lot of artifacts because this video is already really long. If you want to see all my old artifacts, which you know I still obviously have, you can check out my 6-month account review video. But here we can see this electro damage goblet that I got. It's my best electro damage goblet, and I'm using it on Raiden. It has a lot of energy recharge, and you can also see that the crit damage and crit rate are really bad, right? In total, this artifact has 4 out of 9 crit rolls, which is, you know, generally not considered great. So we have some other pieces, right? This is my highest crit damage piece that I own on my entire account. This is 35.8% crit. Sadly, I do not have a single piece after all this time that has more than 40% crit damage. So here we have, you know, just a bunch of other pieces, nothing really remarkable. This is my best physical damage goblet, so you can see that even on my account, I still have, for example, really bad electro damage goblets and really bad physical damage goblets. And actually, now that I think about it, none of my elemental damage goblets are particularly great. And yeah. Let's take a look at another new set, which is the Pale Flame. So the Pale Flame, pretty much I only really use it on Eula. I also occasionally use it on DPS Chi-Chi as well as Razor, but we can just see these pieces. Now for the Pale Flame, for my Pale Flame pieces, I actually mix and match them a lot when it comes to Eula, because when it comes to using Eula for speedruns and stuff like that, it's always about figuring out the right combination of stats to get the bare minimum number of stacks on her in order to nuke an enemy. Well, you know, depends on a lot of factors, right? For example, against Magukenki second phase, you have X amount of time to build up a certain amount of stacks. I think in his case, you get to do an N4 plus a holy plus like an N1 before you can swap off in between the first and second phase invulnerability window, right? So in other words, you have to plan your stats to do about 1 million damage in that situation, to have the highest amount of crit rate, as well as to do just enough damage in order to one-shot the Magukenki second phase, right? So it ends up being, you know, kind of based on your gut, because I'm not plugging this into a spreadsheet every single time just to figure out the exact amount of damage to do. You can go as low as, for example, on my Eula, I think my lowest crit rate builds have a 33% crit rate, and my highest crit rate builds have, you know, basically 100%. Right, depends on, you know, how much you plan to crit fish or you need to crit fish for a specific speed run. So that's why I have a very mixed variety of various amounts of crit damage, attack percent, and crit rate on all these pieces. And you guys can, you know, go slower, you know, play this video in quarter speed, play back if you want to see all these pieces individual stats. But yeah, that's kind of the general mentality as to why it's useful to have this assortment of crit rate, crit damage, and attack percent stats, as well as energy recharge too, right? Energy recharge is important, which is why I do have quite a few pieces with energy recharge focus, because that way on continuous runs for Eula, you often need that energy recharge in order to get her burst back up when you need it. And this one's interesting. Let's actually do a very, very short enhancing sesh, see if we get that double crit on this thing. And no, we got flat attack, so this is good EXP fodder for the future. Let's move on to the next new set, which is the Shimenawa's Reminiscence. And the Shimenawa's Reminiscence, a lot of people memed on this artifact set when it came out, but honestly, I think it's a great set, right? 50% bonus damage to charge attack damage as well as attack percent. This is a very viable piece, especially for Hu Tao, for Yoimiya, who are two amazing DPS characters. Yoimiya, like I mentioned, is my go-to DPS character nowadays. Now, admittingly, Yoimiya is not the best for speedrunning, and even though that's an important facet to my gameplay experience, I still actually think that Yoimiya was one of my favorite characters nowadays. And anyway, we have actually some very mediocre flowers. This one is actually decent, but you know, actually only has 4 out of 9 rolls into crit, right? So if we look at this one has 3 into crit rate, 2 into crit damage, so we have 5 rolls into crit, and this one has 5 rolls into crit as well. So you can see that honestly my artifacts don't even look that great, right? Like once we actually evaluate them for how many rolls went into crit and so on and so forth. One of my friends, Alyss, right, who does speedruns with Ganyu, he has a crit damage circlet that has 40, I think 2% crit damage. Yeah, and it's one reason why his Ganyu is so cracked, as well as his Eula, is because he has that insane crit damage circlet. Actually, it's a crit rate circlet, but it may as well be a crit damage circlet at that point. So yeah, I'm very jelly. I wish I had an artifact piece like that on my entire account, but alas, I do not. And interestingly enough, these two are two of my best crit rate circlets that I own. We can see that this one has a very nice 25.6% crit damage, but on my Yoimiya, for most situations, this crit rate circlet does a little bit better because of the attack percent rolls than this one. So that's actually why she's using this instead of this one. Anyway, we have this piece. I guess this one's good on Hu Tao, right? This is a good Constellation 6 Hu Tao Shimenao's Reminiscence piece, which is why I have it and I am keeping it. Now this is a pretty decent feather that I do often use on Yoimiya. I'm not sure why she's not using it right now. But yeah, moving on. We have this Anemo Damage Goblet, which is my best Anemo Damage Goblet. And this is actually one of my best elemental damage goblets now that I'm looking at it. This is a decent flower, I guess, but I think I have my Yoimiya more focused on crit rate, which is why she's using more crit rate focused pieces. And oh, yeah, see, she has a bunch of crit rate stuff equipped because for consistency's sake, crit rate is always nice and to maintain that crit rate ratio. But here we can see that this has 6 out of 9 crit rolls, which is actually very good. It is only 1 crit roll off from being perfect, although it does not have that attack percent roll. So I don't know why I have this feather. I'm going to unlock that and fodder it in the future. This crit damage circlet's pretty decent, right? 3 rolls into crit rate. Very nice, really can't complain because the maximum amount of rolls you can get in a crit rate on a circlet or, you know, on the other crit stat is 6. Next we have this feather, very unremarkable. I'm not sure why I'm keeping it. And we have a few others that this one actually has a pretty nice balance between the stats, right? Attack percent sometimes is very good. Let's move a little bit more quickly. This one I'm keeping for Constellation 6 Hu Tao when she uses the Shimenao's Reminiscence. And here we have this Geo Damage Goblet, a healing bonus circlet. Not too bad for Kokomi in all honesty. If this rolled once more into HP percent, it would actually be very solid. And we have a bunch of lower level ones and stuff that I haven't cleaned up yet. So let's finally move on to the last new set, the Emblem of Severed Fate. One of the best artifact sets in the game right now, a very good balance of utility through energy recharge as well as burst damage. It's amazing on so many different characters. You can see that I have a lot of them equipped on various different characters, you know, always mixing and matching these Emblem of Severed Fate pieces throughout all my characters, right? Or, you know, the characters that use it. We have this very decent crit damage circlet, very good for the Raiden Shogun, especially when I need that extra bump in damage. For example, for my 12-1-1 nuke run, I use this crit damage circlet. You have to go for those crit fishes in this situation. Here we have a very well-balanced crit rate to energy recharge feather. I often use this on Kujo Sara, because when it comes to using Kujo Sara, sometimes you need that little bit of extra damage, but you want it to be consistent on her burst, and having a lot of crit rate is a great thing for her. And next we have, yeah, I guess I've never actually used it. Is that 102 flat defense? Oh my god. I don't even remember this piece. What happened? Unlocking that. I do not want to look at this piece anymore. Anyway, we have this Geo Damage Goblet. Very nice for Zhongli. I often do run him with the emblem set. We have the Raiden Shogun using this very nice energy recharge timepiece, which ended up having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 9 crit rolls, which is very good for an energy recharge timepiece. Because energy recharge is a very rare substat, right? So it's very difficult to get the 7 out of 9 crit rolls when it comes to an energy recharge timepiece. So next we have this attack percent timepiece. Look at that. All that defense percent. Oh my gosh. Very upsetting for me to look at, but I think that's actually my best attack percent timepiece. We also have this one, which came out a little bit better, but it has a ton of elemental mastery. I guess it would be okay on a character like Xiangling. You know, I typically run energy recharge on Xiangling. It's just a lot more practical on her. Next, we have a very nice flower, and this one has 5 out of 9. We have this one. It has more crit rate, which is nice in situations where you just want a little bit better consistency. We have this one, very bad piece, but I guess it's one of my better HP percent flowers, which, you know, I guess is why I've kept it. And we have some nice crit rate circlets. This one has a very good balance between crit damage, attack percent, even has energy recharge, and unfortunately it rolled into element of mastery, but you know, you really can't complain. Another decent one, but it is pretty much ersatz when it comes to being compared to its brethren sitting right next to it. And okay, let's go a little bit quicker. We have an elemental mastery 1, crit rate 1, and this one, yeah, not bad, not bad. It's got 26% crit damage, so 4 total rolls into crit damage out of the possible 6 when it comes to the circlet. And here we have a very nice crit rate circlet emblem for Zhongli, right? Very good amount of HP percent. Nice combination of pragmatism as well as HP percent for some damage. And finally, a beefy shield for Mr. Zhongli. Here we have a very good feather, right? It is just 1 substat roll from being the 7 out of 9. And my cat is playing with a ping pong ball, so if you hear a ping pong ball bouncing around, that is what that noise is. And I think this piece actually obviously does do more damage than this one. So I do use this piece when it comes to nuke fishing, but for general use, I try to have, you know, a good amount of crit rate, just so, you know, the riding shogun performs more consistently. And we have a few more pieces, right? This one has a good amount of energy recharge. It's always worth keeping pieces that have high energy recharge because you never know when you use them. Even, you know, on a character like Xingqiu, you don't have to have it be the same set. You can just slap on your highest energy recharge pieces with a sacrificial sword, and he can be at level 1 and he will perfectly support your Hu Tao just like that, right? So that's why it's important to keep high energy recharge pieces, even if they end up being off piece. Okay, so we got a few more pieces, and oh, a decent hydro damage goblet. And this is nice, especially on the Emblem of Severed Fates, which is a great set for Mona. A pyro damage goblet. Guess it's got some energy recharge attack percent, but overall not great because it doesn't have any real crit substat rolls. So we have this attack percent goblet, and we have this much better attack percent goblet, which I guess I will unlock this one to sacrifice later because I have this one. Of course, for the emblem set, it's not as important to keep level 0 artifacts because this is not really like a damage amplifying support set like the Tenacity is or the Instructors, right? So I'll just quickly show you my Instructors as well. Instructors all garbage, but I always keep a bunch of level 0 artifacts just in case I need to do as little damage as possible. Okay, that was a lot of stuff. Like I said, my next video will be a DPS showdown between Aloy, Diona, and Amber. It's going to be really interesting to see how those characters perform against each other. And yes, I have every single rod. I actually went out of my way to go get the rods, and I should do the parametric transformer. I always forget about that thing. Oh yeah, weapons. I did get the R5 Unforged. Not something I wanted, but something that I ended up with. You know, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Here we have R5 Thundering Pulse, R5 Everlasting Moonglow, and I do plan to bring another Skyward Harp up to level 90, because that way I can keep one on Kujo Sara, for example, and then give this one to Fischl, for example. And I do plan to get another Refinement 5 Staff of Homa. And let's see, nothing else to really talk about. We have a level 1 Refinement 5 Wolf's Gravestone, as I mentioned earlier. I like to have some, you know, low-level stuff for when it comes to doing nuke showcases. And a level 1 Refinement 5 Wolf's Gravestone is useful for sometimes not, you know, obliterating the target that you're trying to nuke against, right? So this one will just give the entire party 80% attack without necessarily killing them in the process. And for free-to-play weapons, yeah, I've got a bunch of them, right? We've got, you know, the standard, all the event ones. We got an R5 Aminoma Kageyuchi, which I use for a single video. We have the Prototype Archaic, the White Blind, which I will be using quite a bit in the near future. Oh, yeah, there we go. And that is an account overview for my AR60 account. That's right, guys. I feel like I have finally beaten the game, but not really, because I am still going to be playing this game a lot and bringing you guys the content that I have been bringing you thus far. Let me know what you thought about this account review. Let me know what you think about my artifact quality, and, you know, let me know some of your guys' crazy luck, like 40% crit damage, artifact pieces as the substat, right, which is just absolutely crazy. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Win to Lose, signing out.